Good evening and welcome to Business Live with me, Emmanuel Abuaji Riafe. Coming up in tonight's edition, Ghana Gas promises to supply gas from the country's second biggest oil field, Tweneboa, Enyira and Ntome, when Jubilee FPSO is shut down for major repairs next year. African regional port authorities and ministries of transport in the West African sub-region are advocating the establishment of a regional maritime bank to spearhead infrastructural development. Plus, we bring you the story of one investor and an entrepreneur, Stephen Mwenkara, who is making strides in the tourism industry in Wa in the Upper West region. These and several other stories will make up Business Live for today. Stay tuned. My name is, once again, Emmanuel Abuaji Riafe. We're taking a short break. The details come up shortly.
Business Live today is brought to you by GCB Bank.
You're welcome back. Now, indications are that the Jubilee FPSO will be shut down for about 3 months with effect from next year. This is what Joy Business has picked up from some of the partners on the Jubilee field. Sources say the shutdown will happen between February and July in 2017. It will allow for the Jubilee partners to complete works on the vessel that processes and stores crude oil extracted from the seabed. Group Chief Executive of Tullow, Aidan Havey, tells Joy Business the major maintenance should help correct all the problems associated with the Jubilee FPSO turret bearing system.
Pretty well nailed down the problem in Jubilee, and we have a solution in place and we're working on that. So that's pretty well in hand now, and Jubilee's producing pretty well with the interim measures that we have in place, and we should have the first section of putting the FPSO on a fixed heading done by the end of this year. So it's pretty well on track. Well, the main stabilising of the FPSO will be done in the fourth quarter of this year, and then next year we'll fix that. We'll permanently moor it in a fixed position, and then the cam buoy, which we'll put in, is probably in 2018. But by probably around June of next year, Jubilee will be back to full production.
Now, gas from the country's second biggest oil field, the 10 field, will be available to the Atwabo processing plant when Jubilee FPSO is shut down. The main vessel that is used to extract and process crude from the field will shut down for about 3 months between February next year and July next year. Now, this is the arrangement the Jubilee partners have put in place to ensure that the power generation in Ghana does not suffer when the Jubilee FPSO is shut down. George Sipayanki is Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Gas.
So far as TEL and Jubilee are concerned, we know that by the end of the year, the Tullow will finish the tie into our pipeline. And so if after February, when they are shut down, Jubilee is shut down, we will take gas from the 10 force, which will be about 50 million, 30 million for a start, and then 50 million thereafter. So during that period, Ghana Gas will be able to take about only 50 million of gas from 10, while the FPSO Kwamekrumah is being fixed, it's being resolved, the problems are being resolved, and the hope that within 3 to 4 months they could solve the problems on the FPSO Kwamekrumah. So when that is done, it means about 170 million centimeters of gas will become from that area, that force, the tunnel force. And that explains why we are also expanding the current GPP to be able to do more than 150 capacity that it has now, to be able to have 180. So yes, Tullow and Ghana Gas, we are in constant communication and we are working together. And so we are getting ourselves ready to receive gas from 10 when FPSO Kwamekrumah shut down for repairs. There's a plan B, which is the amount of gas coming from 10. And luckily for us, the flow from 10 will be more stable, more consistent and not be as interrupted as that of Jubilee, because it's more of they come from the gas fields more or less. And also the FPSO that have been built, the FPSO at Amnos, I think took into account a lot of the defects that FPSO had. So the constant interruption of gas supply that you experience with the Kwame Nkrumah, FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, will not be the same as the one with the Kwame Nkrumah Amnos. I think going into 2018, one can say that we will be reasonably secured as an energy country if you take into account the 180 million standard cubic meters of gas coming from Sangoba fields, and they take into account the 170 also coming from Jubilee.
All right, so that's quite an assurance there by the Ghana Gas boss. In a related development, the Chief Executive of Ghana Gas, George Sipayanke, is confident challenges with regular power supply in the country will be over once it completes work on new pipelines to transport gas from Atuabo to Tema. Dr. Yankee was speaking to Joy Business after signing a signing ceremony that will kickstart the construction of pipelines from the western region to Tema. The whole project is expected to cost some $500 million. Dr. Yankee says completing these works should bring some relief to consumers.
We will be reasonably secured as an energy country if you take into account the 180 million standard cubic meters of gas coming from Sangoba fields, and they take into account the 170 also coming from Jubilee. I mean, we are going to end up with about close to 400 million scf of gas per day, and that is able to give us, using the combined cycle facilities, that should be able to give us about 800 megawatts of power. That's about 1,000 megawatts of power. If it's going to be on, if you are talking about combined cycles, same combined cycles plants, then if you get out 400 million scf of gas per day, that will enable us to generate about 1,000 megawatts of power, and that's quite considerable. As a matter of fact, we are hoping that there could be more fines, because now we are building infrastructure to enable us even to export to some of our neighbors, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and Cote d'Ivoire, and Togo. So yet, we are looking forward to the time that we'll be able to make enough gas, process enough gas, get more power, and export to our neighboring countries.
And away from gas supply, African regional port authorities and ministries of transport in the West African sub-region are advocating the establishment of a regional maritime bank to spearhead infrastructural development in member countries. Speaking to Joy Business in Accra, Director of Corporate Affairs and Communications at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Paul Ansa, disclosed that the World Bank and African Development Bank have issued a paper on this particular development. According to him, such a bank will provide the necessary financing for ports investment in the sub-region.
Well, the Regional Maritime Bank is supposed to provide financial support for port development across the West and Central Africa. It was decided on by the Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, comprising the transport ministers in the sub-region. That's about 5 years ago. And they decided, when they met, they decided that this bank must be established to provide that kind of support, because the maritime industry is a very dynamic industry. There are constant changes, and the ports will have to respond to these changes, and they would require financial support. But about 99%, almost 100% of the case, the ports are not solvent enough. They don't have that kind of financial backbone to stand on their feet to provide this funding. On few occasions, some of the ports, like the ports of Ghana, have been able to depend or tap into their internally generated funds to leverage this investment or this development. But many of the ports have offshore accounts. As you heard Mr. Adiko said, he said that many of the ports have banking activities outside. If they decide to focus half of those banking activities, on this regional maritime bank, the bank, and then the funds there are reinvested in other areas. Mr. Adiko said the World Bank has prepared a paper on it. The African Development Bank has prepared a paper on it. This regional maritime bank will be able to have the financial muscle to leverage development of our ports.
Thank you very much for staying. Welcome back to Business Live. Now, the Upper West Regional Capital, WA, is not only noted for some commercial agricultural ventures, but also known for the exclusive tourist attractions. In recent times, the Upper West region has attracted some major investments which are contributing to the transformation of the city. On the Joy Business Van today, we bring you the story of one such investor and an entrepreneur, Stephen Mwenkara, who owns one of the most sought-after hotels in WA. That's on the van.
The Joy Business Van is brought to you by Busy, making good things happen.
It's an 11-hour journey from Accra to WA. The city, whose major occupations are in the agricultural sector, is transforming. And that is where Justice Beidou is this week for the Joy Business Van. WA is known for its various tourist sites, and there are hundreds of visitors every year. It's there you'd find the New Young Empire Hotel, one of the most popular in the city. New Young is owned by entrepreneur Stephen Mwenkara. He left his corporate job some 4 years ago to start his own business. Stephen had never thought of being an entrepreneur, but growing up in a poverty-stricken environment, his determination in life was to succeed.
I live in a very poor environment, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe getting a meal a day was always a challenge. I went to maybe some of the best schools, or Ananose was one of the best schools at the time. It's still the best school, right? And I went to Tech, but all those years were challenging years because my father didn't have enough money to give me the kind of thing that I wish I had as a child. And so in me, I never told anybody, but I always wanted to make sure that one day I should give my children what my father couldn't give me.
Stephen believed education would propel him to the status he wanted to accomplish in this life. Well, it did. Before he decided to start his own business, Stephen was head of agribusiness development at Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited. So what changed?
I think my motivation for business came up when I was working for TechnoServe. In TechnoServe, after 1 year, I became a business advisor. So I had to read books around businesses to be able to advise the clients that we had, which were mostly in the rural areas. And I started looking for business opportunities for them. And it was there I noticed how much money these guys could make if they took our advice. And some of them will make money and just for a short period because they'll spend the money on something else. They didn't reinvest the money. So it was that I started telling my wife, one day I'll do business and I'll do it very well.
Stephen would discover a good business idea when he started his own building project. He couldn't acquire the materials in WA. He would head down south all the way to Kumasi to purchase the materials he needed. So he decided he would begin to sell building materials. Soon, he'd want to set up a hostel too.
A few months when the foundation was done and I didn't have money, I said, okay, let me just slow down and do a hotel. So that's how come the hotel idea was born. And It took us some time. This is between 2002, that is if you're talking about conception of the idea, and we opened last year, so it took us way beyond 13 years. People didn't know what I was doing, but I was just taking my time, doing it bit by bit, still doing the business and working for TechnoServe and Guinness as well.
Today, New Young Empire Hotel does 60% of the hotel bookings in WA, and it's just like any world-class hotel.
But primarily, I wanted to offer something not just only for the Upper West people, but for people who come to Upper West to get something they would wish to get but they don't have. So if they come to WA, they should be able to find a hotel at the standards like any other place in the world. So if you travel and you live in Holiday Inn or you live in a Golden Tulip or any resort, when you come to us, you find the same thing. It doesn't matter the geographical location. The other thing is I wanted to also give opportunities to my people. I believe I owe the Upper West a lot of good. I mean, I did much of my education here, and I think I also need to contribute to the development of the regions. We need to develop our region. Nobody should do it for us.
And for Stephen, there are so many opportunities in the Upper West region that are yet to be tapped. He sees them every day, and he is determined to pursue them.
All right, so you catch a repeat of the Joy Business Van on the Marketplace at 1 p.m. tomorrow right here on Joy News. You can also track the story on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Taking a short break. The Busy Bits comes up shortly.
Did you ever want to send an email to a whole bunch of people, but you didn't want everyone on your email list to know who everyone else is? Or did you ever have a need to secretly share an email conversation with another person? Then you need to know what that BCC is for on your email list. Usually, you would put that email address of the person you are sending an email to in the to line. As many of us old-timers know, CC stands for carbon copy, and this line is for anyone you'd like to send a copy of your email to. Then there is BCC, which stands for blind carbon copy. Use this line when you don't want anyone in the to or CC lines to know who else received the message. If you put the email addresses of all your intended recipients in the BCC line, none will know who else received the message. It is a way to secretly share an email message with others or send a message to a whole group of people without sharing everyone's email address with everyone else.
The Joy Business.
Thank you very much for staying. Time now for the interview of the day. Commercial banks have raised concern that payment of interest on mobile money wallets may unduly affect their operations. This comes as the Bank of Ghana indicated that beginning this Sunday, 11th of September, mobile cash service providers are to start paying interest on the wallet deposits of subscribers. Dr. Banuakun is a Senior Vice President in charge of Marketing, Research and Corporate Affairs at the Royal Bank.
But for me, I don't think everything has to be regulated. It's a matter of choice, isn't it? A customer has money. He's deciding where I want to put my money. If the banks are offering interest and the telcos are not offering interest, unless the telcos are offering something the banks are not offering, that person would have put the money in the bank. For somebody to have put his money on his mobile money wallet for a very long time and not getting interest and still putting money there, it means probably he's getting something that the banks are not offering, which meant that the banks should have seen this and realizing that if people are moving money away from the banking sector, and putting it on their mobile money wallets, their electronic wallets, and not receiving anything, but they still don't care, then it means that they are getting something that the banks are not offering. And I think in this case, convenience. And it means that they were prepared to forego the interest in exchange for better convenience. A regulator comes in, you have actually changed the playing field, because what you are saying is that all customers of the bank should be moving from the banks and going to the telcos, because now they get a convenience as well as the interest that they would have enjoyed with the banks. And that's where the banks should be worried, that the telcos are being asked to pay interest. Because if I, as an individual, I was putting my money on my mobile money wallet, even when I wasn't getting interest, and I was still prepared to do it, why wouldn't I continue doing that or move all my funds there if now I can still get what the banks were giving me?
And that's all in this edition of Business Live. Many thanks for your company, and do join me again same time tomorrow for another interesting package. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafi. Keep watching. Good evening.